Okay, so we did our first informational essay. We wrote about woodpeckers. Our second informational essay, we wrote about chipmunks. Now we're going to kind of switch gears. We're not writing about animals. We're going to write about the Great Pyramid of Giza. Everybody say Giza.
Giza.
It's a very funny name, I know. All right, so before we read our text, we want to read the prompt. So if you'll turn to the back of your page and look at the bottom, here's your prompt. Everybody there? Okay.
Caesar, look at her page and see what your page looks like first.
So it says, explain why and how the ancient Egyptians built the Great Pyramid. Support your explanation with evidence from the Great Pyramid of Giza. Use conventions of standard English in your response. Now, in pretty much every essay prompt that you see, it's going to tell you, the last sentence is going to say, use conventions of standard written English in your response. That means you have to write in English. You have to use complete sentences. You have to capitalize. You have to use punctuation. You have to indent your paragraphs, okay? That's what that last sentence means. All right, let's go back and let's sort of analyze and look at this prompt. We already know that this is what kind of a prompt? Informational. So you can take your highlighter and you can highlight informational. That's a clue. You know you're writing an informational essay. If you don't have a highlighter, just circle it. All right. And then they want us to explain what? What are we going to do? We're going to explain why and how. Explain why and how. So if I'm thinking about that, what might one paragraph be about? One of my body paragraphs could be about why they built the pyramid. The other body paragraph could be about how they built the Great Pyramid of Giza. Awesome, good job. All right, and I have one more question for you. Why did they put this in quotation marks? Why'd they put that in quotation marks?
Because it's the title of the story.
Because it's the title of the story. And if you flip your paper over and you look at the front side, you will see this is the title of the story. Okay? So anytime you're talking about, this one's a little bit tricky because if you're just saying the Great Pyramid of Giza was built a long time ago, you're not going to put it in quotation marks. If you're talking about the passage and you say, the passage, the Great Pyramid of Giza states, you do have to put it in quotation marks. Look right here. When they said built the Great Pyramid, did they put that in quotation marks? No. It's only in quotation marks if you're talking about the title. If you're talking about the text. Okay. What we're going to do is we're just going to go through and we're going to read this passage, and we're just going to read just to get the information, just to get the gist of the passage. We're not looking for text evidence yet. We will probably read this passage at least 3 times. Some of you might have to read it more on your own. But the first time we read, we just want to read just to kind of practice the words and get the idea of what it says. Then we'll go back and we'll read it again and we'll really be looking for why they built the pyramid. And what you'll do while you're reading is if you see a sentence or a paragraph that lets me know why they built it, you can put a little bracket and you can write the word why in the margin. Then we'll read it again looking for how they built the pyramid. When you're analyzing a text and you're trying to find your text evidence and get your information, sometimes you have to read it more than one time. Okay? All right. Turn back to the front. Dakota, would you start me off and read that first paragraph?
The 7 wonders of the world are ancient structures that most people consider to be the most amazing of all time. These structures were built thousands of years ago before people had construction equipment like bulldozers to push earth and push earth, and cranes to lift heavy blocks. Many people consider the Great Pyramid of Giza to be the most remarkable of the 7 wonders. Why? It is the oldest wonder and the only one still standing today.
Very nice. All right, Paisley, would you read that next paragraph?
The Great Pyramid was built in an ancient Egyptian around 256 BC. 2560 BCE. Other pyramids are near the Great Pyramid, but they are smaller. The Great Pyramid was about 480 feet and 146 meters tall when they first built. Over time, the sand and wind decreased the height. It was the tallest structure in the world, nearly 4,000 years.
All right, paragraph 3, Jameson.
In ancient Egypt, kings and queens were buried in pyramids, which were enormous tombs. People, though their rules can take their belongings with them into the afterlife. So they filled their kings and queens' pyramids with everything they could possibly ever need. In Egypt, king named Khufu oversaw the construction of his own burial tomb, the Great Pyramid.
Tomb. Everybody say tomb.
Tomb.
The Great Pyramid he wanted to be larger than any pyramid ever built.
Good. All right, Caden, paragraph 4.
No one is quite sure exactly how the people thousands of years ago managed to build such an enormous pyramid. They made this structure with about 2 million stones, and each weighed 15 tons.
All right, Hadley, paragraph 5.
Some scholars believe that many people pushed the stones one at a time up ramps. It most likely took about 10,000 people more than 20 years to build the Great Pyramid.
Good. All right, Hughes, paragraph 6.
People tried to make the Great Pyramid as beautiful as possible. They covered the outside with polished white stones. However, many of these stones were damaged by earthquakes in the Middle Ages. Most were then taken away and used for other purposes. The pyramid has 3
Burial.
chambers. The first is underground, a statue of Khufu was once in the second. The third is Khufu.
Good. All right, Will, finish up.
While the Great Pyramid had been worn down every time, it still stands proudly today. It has survived for thousands of years as a reminder of the
Ancient.
Egyptians.
Egyptians and the effort they put into the build it. Many people now care for the Great Pyramid to ensure that it will remain standing for years to come.
Very nice. Okay, so do you know what a pyramid is? Have you ever seen a pyramid? What shape is a pyramid? It looks like a what?
Triangle.
Yes, very good. It's sort of a triangular shape. So from this passage, what did you learn about pyramids, or what did you pick up on about pyramids, or about this particular pyramid? What's something you learned from the passage?
I learned that the Great Pyramid was built in 2,560 years before Christ was invented.
Okay.
I heard that they buried people in it.
Very good. They buried people in it. Now, did just any people get buried in a pyramid?
No.
No. What did they have to be in order to get buried in the pyramid? They had to be
Egyptians.
Egyptians who were
Kings and queens.
Kings and queens, like the rulers of the Egyptians. So like the commoners, we wouldn't get buried in pyramids. It had to be the Egyptian kings and queens. And here's sort of some pictures of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Kind of looks like a bunch of sand all kind of piled up to me.
It's kind of like a desert.
Kind of like a desert.
Miss, you know what stood out to me? Of course,
Yes.
this always amazes me. The pyramids.
Mm-hmm.
Because how many years ago did they say that they were built? Like thousands of years ago, right? But they're still there. Do they have all the modern technology that we have now?
No.
Do they have bulldozers or equipment that would carry the stones to them?
No.
So what did they say? How did they say they built it? They think.
They built it with stone, but it was so like a long time ago. It didn't say in the story. They said like it was kind of hard, so they got to pour water so this like the sled of the stones can like move a little bit faster.
Okay, and who did that? How many people did they say probably took?
Like 1,000.
1,000 people. And how long did it say it probably took them to build it?
20
20 years. But with all the earthquakes and all the weather and everything, it's still standing. That's how tough it is.
Yes, absolutely.
Or strong.
Yes. Have you all ever seen the movie Aladdin?
Yes.
Okay, this reminds me of the movie Aladdin at the beginning when Jafar wants Aladdin to go into, looks like a big kind of like lion's mouth. Go into the pyramid and he's 10,000 years in the cave of wonders. And when he goes in there, there's all these jewels and riches. All of these kings and queens, they thought that they needed to take all of their earthly possessions and all their jewels and riches with them into the afterlife. Okay? So, these structures, as Miss Terry was saying, look how awesomely wonderful they were built. And then I was trying to find like a good picture of sort of like the inside of the pyramid. I
There's one right there.
couldn't really find one. I wanted to see like the riches.
Like a tomb. What did that picture
Yes. So you can kind of see some of the pictures inside. But anyway, that's what we're reading about, the Great Pyramid of Giza. So what does our prompt say? Let me go back to the prompt. What are we supposed to be analyzing this text to find?
How and why they built it.
Okay, very good. So now we want to look for why they built the pyramid and how they built the pyramid. And we have to find text evidence. We can't just be, oh, I remember why they built it. They built it because that's where they were going to put the kings and queens. You have to go back in the text and you have to find the sentence that talks about that. And you have to highlight that sentence or underline that sentence. And then over on the side in the margin, you're going to write why. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go back to our text. So let me go back to mine. We're going to go one paragraph at a time. All right. So we're going to read this first paragraph and we're looking for why they built the pyramid, or while we're doing this, if we happen to see how they built it, we can, go through with that. All right, Miranda, you read paragraph 1.
Read loud and proud so we can all hear you.
Yes.
The 7 wonders of the world are ancient structures that most people consider to be the most amazing of all time. These structures were built in thousands of years ago before people had construction equipment like bulldozers to push the earth and cranes to lift heavy blocks. Many people consider the Great Pyramid of Giza to be the most remarkable of the 7 wonders. Why? It is the oldest wonder and the only one still standing today.
Okay. Is there anything in that first paragraph that you think we could use as text evidence for why they built the Great Pyramid? And in some of these paragraphs, there's not going to be anything that we really want to use. What are you thinking, Peyton? What sentence?
I'm thinking why it is the oldest wonder and the only one still standing today.
Well, it is the oldest wonder and the only one still standing today. I think that that's an interesting fact, but that really doesn't tell me why they built the Great Pyramid. Do you agree?
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right, let's move on to paragraph 2. Who wants to read paragraph 2? Caleb, will you read paragraph 2?
The Great Pyramid was built in ancient Egypt around 2560 BCE. Other pyramids are near the Great Pyramid, but they are smaller. The Great Pyramid was about 480 feet, 146 meters tall. When it was first built over time, sand and wind decreased its height. It was the tallest structure in the world for nearly 4,000 years.
Okay, now in paragraph 2, do we have any good text evidence about why they built the pyramid or even how they built the pyramid? Or is it just another paragraph with some facts? Okay, so there's really nothing that I could use in my essay there. So let's read paragraph 3. All right, Andrew, you do paragraph 3 for
Proud,
me.
Andrew.
In ancient Egypt, the kings and queens were buried in pyramids, which were enormous
Tombs.
tombs. People thought their rulers could take their belongings with them into the afterlife. So they filled their kings and queens' pyramids with everything they could possibly ever need.
Okay, I gotta stop you right there because my little radar is going, oh, text evidence, text evidence, text evidence. That's a good fact right there. What he just read, what did he just tell you?
They thought their rulers could take belongings.
Okay, so which part of our prompt would that help us analyze? That would go in what paragraph? The paragraph about
Why or how? Would it tell us why they were built or how they were built?
why they built their pyramid. So you want to take your pencil. I'm going to use my pencil for now. Get your pencil for now. Right down here in paragraph 3. And I'm just going to do a little, whoops, that's not what I'm going to do. With my pencil, I'm going to do a little whoop, whoop. And I'm going to put the word why. Okay. So I know that there is something in here that I can use for my why paragraph. So I could go back and I'm going to look. Kings and queens were buried in pyramids which were enormous tombs. Okay, why were they buried there? Because people thought their rulers could take their belongings with them into the afterlife. I'm going to underline that. I like that sentence. People thought their rulers could take their belongings with them into the afterlife, so they filled their kings and queens pyramid with everything they could possibly ever need. That right there would be an excellent sentence of text evidence that I could use in my essay, in my why paragraph.
You understand, like when they were built, it's just like if I was a queen and they were burying me in a pyramid, I might take my cell phone, I might take my wedding ring, I might take a bottle of water. They may bury me with those things because in the afterlife they're burying me with things they think I might need. Okay?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
And if you were a
Like
king
your
or a
treasures.
queen, think about all the gold you would have in your crown and your riches, your jewels, your sapphires, rubies, emeralds. You would have all of these beauties with you. That's where I go back to the Cave of Wonders in Aladdin, because I've never actually been in a pyramid before. We don't really have that kind of jewel in my life. Like, we don't really have that here. But back then, you've seen the movies where they're just sitting on a chest of gold and they have all these jewels and the bracelets that just go up their arms. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking about. But like Miss Terry said today, what are our prized possessions? Okay? What is it that you would want to be buried with?
Food.
Food!
My PS4.
Yeah, put some Asahi in there. Put my PS4 in there.
Probably my
Put your cat in there.
Okay.
People actually do that.
Am I right?
What about people?
Alright, so let's keep going. Sorry, Andrew, I interrupted you, but that was a good text evidence. Alright, let's keep looking and listening and see. Can we find another sentence that lets me know why or how they built the pyramid?
An Eastern king named Khufu oversaw the construction of his own burial tomb, Great Pyramid. He wanted it to be larger than any pyramid ever built.
Okay. So what did Khufu want? He wanted a
the largest pyramid they ever built.
very good. So it said he oversaw the construction. What does it mean if we say we oversaw, or if I'm going to oversee something? What am I doing? If I'm overseeing it, Emily, what do you think that means if I'm overseeing it?
You're looking at it.
I'm looking at it. I'm making sure that everything
Good.
is good and is done the way that
I want it.
I want it. So imagine Khufu, the king, and he's watching these peons, pretty much like slaves, basically.
Yeah.
The slaves building the pyramid brick by brick, giant pieces of concrete. They didn't have tractors and whatever those giant crane things are. They had to do it by hand and probably had to use a pulley system to pull those giant bricks up. And so what's Khufu the king doing? Overseeing.
Was he doing the work?
Oversaw it.
Was he doing the work?
Was he doing the work?
No.
No, he wasn't.
When I think about that overseeing, I think about you're not supposed to see it, but you do.
Okay, so she's thinking about if you oversee, maybe you're not supposed to see something, but you do, kind of like sneaking on somebody.
I'm thinking when they say that they have to use their hands like brick by brick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking that like they're all like standing in one line and doing the thing where they have to go to one another, to one another, to one another.
Yes. So when I was looking at this, and this is my paper, and I did write why out to the side because I thought he wanted it to be larger than any pyramid ever built, and that is why he oversaw the construction. Okay? So put that on your paper because that is a possible text evidence. You could pull that in as to why they built the pyramid. Well, Khufu built it because he wanted it to be the largest pyramid ever built.
Khufu reminds me from Andrew from the Titanic.
Okay, how?
Because like when he said that Khufu didn't really build it,
Yes.
Andrew didn't really build it. He only made the blueprint.
Oh, okay. That's cool. I'm not very familiar with that. But I'm glad you made that connection. All right, let's move on to paragraph 4. Sophia, would you read paragraph 4 for me?
No one is quite sure exactly how people, thousands of years ago, managed to build such an enormous pyramid. They made the structure with about 2 million stones, and each weighed 2 to 15 tons.
Okay. We don't really know how. Oh, wait. Wasn't that in my prompt? Wasn't I supposed to be working on how they built the pyramid? Okay. Ding, 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 ding. No one is really sure how they did it, but here's what we know. They made it with about 2 million stones. So I'm going to put how, and that is a possible paragraph that I could pull a sentence or a phrase from for text evidence. Yes, buddy.
My great-great-grandfather had a friend that owned a camel,
Uh-huh.
and he told my dad one time that when they were building like pyramids and all that, they used the camels to pull stuff half of the time.
Aw, cool. Okay, so now paragraph 5. Paragraph 5. Who wants it? All right, Peyton, go for it.
Some scholars believe that many people pushed the stones one at a time up ramps. It most likely took about 10,000 people more than 20 years to build the Great Pyramid.
Y'all aren't even 20 years old yet. You're only what, like 9 or 10?
I'm about to do
So if you're 10, you've lived here for 10 years. How old are you? You're 10. You've lived here for 10 years. You've been alive for 10 years. It would take another 10 years to get that pyramid built. So if you started working today, you started building a pyramid, you would be 30 years old by the time it was finished. Oh my goodness gracious. That would be like pretty much your whole life. Okay? You would spend your whole life building a pyramid. Okay. Does paragraph 5 tell me why they built the pyramid or how they built the pyramid?
Literally
How? So I could take my pencil, and I want you to do this too, and I want you to put how. Okay. How did they? Now, do we know exactly how they built the pyramids? No. Scholars, scientists, they are having to make an inference. What is an inference? An educated guess. Very good. Remember Miss Casey did that whole thing about inferences with Blue last week with you? Okay. They have to make an inference, an educated guess, because nobody can interview an Egyptian and say, so, how did you make the Great Pyramid of Giza? And say, well, let me tell you what we did. Those people are not alive. Nobody got to interview them. So they're having to look at what they can see, look at old artifacts, and just sort of make inferences and piece it together. So these scholars, the scholars are the smart people who study pyramids, they believe that people pushed the stones one at a time up ramps. What's a ramp?
It's like
A ramp is like a little slant that you can go up.
you can
Very good.
you can like pull it, like you can pull a rope.
Or you can
So here's the ramp. They put the ramp there. They push the stones up the ramp. And then it also says it most likely took 10,000 people more than 20 years to build the Great Pyramid. Wow. It took them a long time. All right. Paragraph 6. Caden, would you read paragraph 6 for us?
People tried to make the Great Pyramid as beautiful as possible. They covered the outside with polished white stones. However, many of these stones were damaged by earthquakes in the Middle Ages. Most were then taken away and used for other purposes.
Purposes.
The pyramid has 3
Burial
chambers. The first is the underground. A statue of Khufu was once in the second. The third is Khufu's
burial
chamber.
So which one actually had Khufu's body in it? The third one. It says the third one was actually, so the first one was underground. They put a statue of him in the second. The third is where he was actually buried. Okay, in paragraph 6, do y'all really see anything for why they built the pyramid? Or how they built the pyramid? How did they build it? They wanted to make it what? As beautiful as possible. They used white stones. Now, this is okay for how, but I'll be honest with you, I don't really love that piece of text evidence. It doesn't really tell me how they built it. It's just sort of like an extra detail. So I'm just thinking in my head, maybe I'll use it in my essay, maybe I won't. I feel like this is a whole lot better. I could get a lot more from that.
I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
Why did they use polish?
Pretty. So that would be pretty. Polished stones, they would be pretty, they would be shiny, they would be more decorative. Yeah. Just to be pretty, to make it look good.
Now that we've been talking about polish for a little while, I've been wondering when they invented polish. Because I thought they invented it like maybe 200 years ago.
Polish just means to rub something like this. Like you can get your shoes shined. You know, some men, they get their shoes shined. And it just means like to rub on it.
I thought they were talking about like polish.
Like nail polish?
No.
Like paint? Like polish you put on your shoes, like shoe polish?
Or yeah, polish you put on metal.
Yeah.
True.
Like the,
I'll be completely honest with you. I was not alive during the ancient Egyptian times. I wasn't there. I honestly don't know. I haven't researched it in depth, so I'm not 100% sure. Right here, they covered the outside with polished white stones. I would say that they found some white stones somewhere. And you know how if you're outside and you pick something up and it's kind of dusty and yucky and dirty? If you go and you kind of either brush it off with a towel or even rub it with your hands, put some water on there and clean it, it looks a whole lot better. You remember all those pumpkins I told you that I grew in my yard? Okay, well, when they first are grown, they've been out there in that muddy field, and it really hadn't rained a whole lot here lately. It did this weekend just a little bit, but before that, it really hadn't rained. My pumpkins were all dusty. They really didn't look that great. So after we picked them, we brought them up to the water hose, and we spray them with the water hose, and I kind of rub on them a little bit, polish them, and then after they dried, they looked much prettier, okay? So when you go to like a pumpkin patch or you go to a store to buy pumpkins, those pumpkins have already been cleaned. So that's what I think about the polished white stones. The stones just laying there, they're probably kind of dingy, but you know all those slaves they had building the pyramids? Okay, well they probably had to wash those stones and rub them down and polish them. Okay, so I don't literally think that they put a coat of anything on there. I think that just meant to clean them. Okay, all right, let's move on. Let's get through the last paragraph. Who wants the last one? All right, go for it, Paisley.
While the Great Pyramid has been worn down over time, it still stands up proudly today. It has survived the thousands of years as a reminder of the ancient Egyptians and the effort they put into building it. Many people now care for the Great Pyramid to ensure that it will remain standing for years to come.
Awesome. Okay, you're going to get out 2 clean sheets of notebook paper. If you don't have any, I will be glad to share with you. I think most of you have notebook paper in your binder. Get out 2 clean pieces of notebook paper. If you need some, raise your hand. I will bring you some. 2 clean pieces of notebook paper. All right, on your first sheet of notebook paper, we are going to quickly sketch the writing man. Make its body about as big as the piece of paper. So head, you know what we're doing with the writing man. Neck, and then the body should take up pretty much the rest of your paper. Okay, friends, so when we are doing the writing man, the very first thing that we have to do is analyze the prompt. Have we done that?
Yes.
Yes, we have. We've analyzed the prompt, and it told us that we were going to have to explain
Why and how.
Okay, guess what? Here's my why. Here's my how. That's what my 2 body paragraphs are going to be about. Okay. All right, in my intro paragraph, what are my eyeballs?
The attention grabber.
Attention grabber. What's my nose?
The thesis.
Huh?
Title and author.
Title and author. The mouth is the
Thesis.
Okay, so when I do my attention grabber, An easy one is to ask a question. So I can put my question mark earrings on. My little ears. Question mark ears. My earrings, if you want to have a writing woman. Alright, so we've got attention grabber, ask a question. What's a possible question for this essay?
Have you ever heard of the ancient Egyptians?
Very good. Have you ever heard of the ancient Egyptians? Can you think of another one?
Have you ever seen it? Wait, Egyptian pyramid?
Have you ever seen an Egyptian pyramid?
Does it have to all be questions?
It doesn't have to be a question, but it has to be a hook.
I said huff huff. Did you hear that? That's the sound of the ancient Egyptians building an ancient.
Very good. So she's going to use onomatopoeia. Huff, huff. That's the sound of the ancient Egyptians building the Great Pyramid.
Woohoo! Woo! 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 That's the sound of an echo in the Great Pyramid.
I love that. That's the sound of an
I thought listening to these
echo.
great things.
That is a great hook. That is very cool. All right, so our first sentence will be our attention grabber. Ask a question. The next sentence is going to be the one that has the
Title and author.
title and author. Now, look at your passage. Do you see a title?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull mine back up. Okay, right here on your title, go ahead and put this in quotation marks so you can remember that when you write the title, it goes in quotation marks. Do you see an author for this passage? No. Our passage today does not have an author. So I'm just going to have the title, and I can go ahead right now, and I can make this a sentence. I can say, the text, the Great Pyramid of Giza does what? Tells many
Facts about.
Tells many facts about. And what does it tell many facts about?
How and why they built the Egyptians.
Very good. About how and why the Great Pyramid was built. I love that. And I know I don't know how to make my writing man smaller.
I guess you just squeeze on it a little or move it.
His face is floating.
I know. Okay, how about that? All right. So I can go ahead and I can write this sentence down. You can write it on your paper. That way when it's time to do your intro paragraph, you've got it ready to go. I'm using the title. And I have to put that title into a sentence. So the text, the Great Pyramid of Giza, tells many facts about how and why the Great Pyramid was built. Now if I do it like that, then I've kind of already done my thesis. Oh, everybody's going to have to stop. I'm so sorry. I messed up. Let's not put how and why on there. Don't put how and why yet. Just say, the text, the Great Pyramid of Giza, tells many facts about,
The Great Pyramid.
about the Great Pyramid, or about an ancient Egyptian pyramid. Okay, do you see why I had to stop myself?
Because you said how. and
Because
why.
my why and how needs to be in my thesis. This is just my title and author sentence. I want to save the word why and how for my thesis. Otherwise, my intro paragraph would have 2 sentences and it wouldn't be long enough. So save that why and how for your next sentence. Did you write that down?
Thank you.
Love it.
I was only on one and a half, so I didn't have to erase much.
Good.
I've already wrote on.
This erase what I have.
So I guess
The Great Pyramid. Tells me facts about the Great Pyramid.
This is your title author. So that's your title author. Where it doesn't have an author, does it? Does it say by so and so? Does it say about the Great Pyramid, about the Giza? Does it have the author in it? Does it say who wrote this one?
So is this, why is there
So
a
this right here
F
is your
on
title
the
sentence.
Wednesday and W on the Friday?
And they were reading on something, so I hope you listen because I don't know. You can see if you listen up here. Thank you, God.
It's probably Bo's schedule.
Or your hook.
I don't know.
Okay? And you have to know that. Have you ever seen pyramids? Okay? Then
Okay, so let me recap the head of my writing man. We did the prompt. We have our attention grabber. We did the title and author. We're ready for our mouth. What word goes across the mouth?
thesis.
Okay. What is an easy way to start your thesis sentence?
With his hair, new haircut.
See that?
Yeah.
You can say
Everything's moving.
S-A.
Okay. We can do our mouth like this.
Explain.
And how can we start it? We can say
And that would be your thesis sentence right there.
the main idea Now we're ready for those two words. We're going to go back and restate the prompt. What does our prompt want us to? Explain.
How.
Look at our prompt. Explain why and how.
The Egyptians.
Capital letter, y'all. A sentence starts with a capital letter. This is having author. This is still having author. Where's the author? Who wrote it? Yeah, does it have an author? No, so that's all you put, okay? Here's where you're going to get your thesis from.
Okay. So if you go back and you look at your prompt right here. Why and how the ancient Egyptians built the Great Pyramid. Word for word from the prompt. You are restating the prompt. All right, we're going to go ahead right now, while this is fresh on your brain, and by yourself, you are going to write your intro paragraph. So you have another clean piece of paper on your desk, yes?
Yes.
Okay, get that clean piece of paper out. Make sure the holes are on the left side. Make sure it's turned the right way. Mark the big margins at the top. The holes are on the left. Okay. When you start this intro paragraph, what do you have to do? What do we call it when you scoot over? It's called indent. The first sentence is going to be your attention grabber, your hook. The second sentence is going to have the title in it. There's no author this time. And the last sentence is going to be the thesis. Now, we just talked about all three of these sentences. So you should be able to do it. Remember, attention grabber, ask a question, or if you want to get more creative, you can. Title. We wrote that sentence on the paper together. Thesis. It's right there. Okay? Got it? All right, go. Please write your intro paragraph. It should take you less than 10 minutes. Go. Get your paper out. Thank you. Good. I love how Hadley's got her fingers down to do a nice indention. That looks so nice. Okay, get your other clean paper out. Where's your clean paper? Clean paper. First sentence, attention grabber, ask a question. Turn your paper the correct way. The holes go on the left. Turn it around again. The red line with the holes go on the left. Flip. There we go. Now it looks good. Good. Have you ever? I love it. The indentions are good. Have you ever seen? Now when you indent here, yes, but when you get down to the next line, do not indent. You go all the way back over to the red.
No. Look at your title. Look at this. What's the first thing you do? You do a attention grabber. You don't do that. You gotta go in order. This is the first thing you do. The first thing you do is attention grabber. But he has it. He knows what I'm doing this. Okay.
All right, so I would like to share my intro paragraph that I wrote with you, okay? We're gonna hear three things. You're gonna hear the hook or the attention grabber. I'm gonna ask a question. Then I'm gonna have a sentence. I'm gonna tell you the title of the story. And finally, my thesis, the main idea, okay? So here's my intro paragraph. Have you ever heard of the 7 wonders of the world? One of those structures is the Great Pyramid of Giza. So that was my attention grabber, my hook. The passage, the Great Pyramid of Giza, discusses many interesting facts about the Great Pyramid of Giza. Now, I know that sounds kind of weird, but when I wrote the title, the Great Pyramid of Giza, I put it in quotation marks. And then when I was just saying the Great Pyramid of Giza, it doesn't go in quotation marks. The main idea is to explain why and how the ancient Egyptians built the Great Pyramid. That's my thesis. I've let you know what I'm writing about. Now, on your own, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go back in your text. Remember how we highlighted and we made notes in the margin on our text together for why and how? Okay. Well, if you look right here on your writing man, you've got a big box for why and a big box for how. So what you're going to do is you are going to, I don't know where my pen is. So like for why, I have paragraph 3. So I'm going to put a P3 for paragraph 3. And I'm going to look back and I'm going to see that sentence that says, people thought their rulers could take their belongings with them into the afterlife. So I'm going to put that right here. People thought, and I'm going to write that sentence. Okay? The goal is to have 2 facts for why and 2 facts for how. Okay? This is the text evidence that you're going to use in your essay. So pick the best 2. Got it? Okay, this is your by yourself work. That's what you're going to do next, right now.